Okay, what is going on YouTube? Free Tendies Fantasy, Yanni and Ted doing more of these low stakes best ball drafts that I am so fond of. Ted, not so much. Ted's a big game hunter. I like to get in a bunch of little drafts. Ted, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. I wouldn't characterize myself as not enjoying these, but I understand the nature of the slot machine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when I go into a casino or anywhere else, I have a predetermined amount of money I'm willing to lose as the cost of fun. That's like my fun cost.
Yep.
And once I run out of money, I just usually go to the sports book and sit on the leather couches. So that's my move. I'm 200 bucks in. I'm probably done. I was kind of interested in doing those $1 Dalmatians, but greedy scalpers like yourself, you greedy bastards filled it up very quickly. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to play.
Dude, I look
You
at
really
it.
needed your 50 entries of Ricky Pearsall.
Oh God, man, rest in peace, Ricky Pearsall. I look at it like, for me, again, right, when we're giving advice here and when we're like talking about stuff here and when we're writing articles or when we're doing videos, like we are redraft players first and foremost. I am starting to branch out into best ball, and Ted has certainly taken his swings at like the big field, multi-million dollar tournaments. But like I am far from a best ball expert, and I don't pretend to be. The skills are transferable, but it is sort of a different game. Like this is very much the process of me learning how to be a best ball drafter and manager and how to like advance a higher number of teams than average, right? So like I'm stoked every time I can pay $1 to $3 to get a best ball draft in and learn a little bit about how to do things and see my process. And then this year we'll see how my portfolio performs. I think that's a really worthwhile thing for me personally. But I certainly don't think I'm gonna like take down one of these, but you never know. I don't even know
Well,
how.
we were looking at Yahoo mock drafts today because we were kind of interested in potentially recording that. Holy crap, that feels different
Mm,
than best ball, and we came to the determination that it's still too unserious
yeah, dude.
to be recording. It doesn't help anyone when people are taking kickers in the seventh round, or I think Josh Allen went at the 1-2, so Yanni got Gibbs at the 1-3. It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, like what are we doing? Recording that? Like it's not gonna help anyone.
Nope. No, no. It's weird because I felt like the last few years I thought I started mocking really seriously like 2 years ago, and it did really affect my results for the season. So like I did feel like I got a lot out of mocks at some point, but they also felt like more serious where I was really like trying to build, and I built like a lot of my mocks looked how my rosters looked in the season. The few that I've done so far this year, they do not look anything like what I think is going to be realistic come draft season. So I'm sort of just staying away from it. Pick 12, awesome, our state mandated end of the draft pick. Obviously, we're jamming Cook here if we can. I would love a little CD Lamb that late.
Honestly, man, with all of the first to second overall picks you got in the free tendies leagues last year, you deserve this.
Yeah.
You're getting your comeuppance on draft positioning.
Well, so I'll just tell you right now. I'll give you a little peek behind my psychological curtain. I kind of want it to keep happening. So by the time the redraft leagues swing around and we're doing our 15 free tendies fantasy drafts, like I'm constantly getting at the top end. Because like, technically speaking, if regression hits, I should have a bunch of high end picks like in my future at some point. So I'm happy to keep rolling the 1 out of 12 slot machine, ending up at the back. I hope it happens over and over here. So when I get to redraft, I can be in the front. However, because I know how my life works, I think I'm going to end up getting 5, 6, 7. I bet you I'm going to have like 40% of the drafts this year from 5, 6, 7. But time will tell.
Honestly, dude, you deserve it. You got to stop drafting in the 1 or 2 hole, man.
Yeah. Well,
But
remember
I
though.
will say last year, like you drafting at the 1 or 2 was Bijan or Gibbs. Me drafting at the 1 or 2 was Saquon Barkley. So you made a lot more use of that than I would have. Anyway, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, Saquon was definitely a fade for me. Again, dude, I have a weird time. Like, I see people victory lapping that take this year, like with Saquon, and saying this is why you can't touch Saquon this year. Some people are really bullish on Saquon. To me, like, dude, the whole O line got hurt. The offensive coordinator was terrible. I don't really think that was like a Saquon issue. Like, my take was that he was too high mileage and wasn't going to be able to return like to his form that season. That wasn't really what happened. The O line just sort of collapsed. Now, I will say I'm a little bit nervous that two of the Eagles' interior offensive linemen are starting off on injury reports this year. That does make me a little bit, just a little bit, not totally, but just a little bit hesitant for my Saquon bullishness because I am really high on him. I don't like seeing that. Because to me, the whole issue last year was that their O line was not healthy, and if they're already 40% injured ahead of the season, that does make me a little bit hesitant.
It could be worse. They could be the 49ers level of injury.
Oh
We got the
God.
news this morning that Ricky Pearsall, it is official. He is getting his PCL operated on, done for the year. He'll be back probably training camp next year. Is the next time we can expect him. Another year removed from football. It's not good, man. I'm very hesitant when players have to take these long breaks because we've seen guys who look good and then they take a long break and they never return to form.
Mm-hmm.
We are now teetering in the this might just be a busted pick territory, which I am the number one Ricky Bull, and I will fight till the end that I think that he's a good football player, but now even I am concerned. So
Well,
it's not
especially
going
sorry.
great.
Yeah, well, especially when you look at like RTP, return to play timelines on PCLs, about 50% of them are just career ending. Unfortunately, they have not figured out that procedure the way they figured out the Achilles or the ACL. So the reality is, does he come back and look the same as one question? Does he come back at all is now a question. Now they said the same thing about the patellar tendon for the Chargers left tackle. What's his name? The good dude, really good player. Not
Rashawn Slater
Yeah,
or
Slater.
Joe Alt.
Slater, not all. Slater blew his patellar tendon, and the physiology community was saying, can he ever come back from that? And he very apparently is totally fine. So it certainly can happen. But PCLs are one that apparently medical technology has just not properly advanced on yet. Um, and that's a real shame. God, man, in full PPR, you're going to give me James Cook at the 1-2 turn. That is absolutely wonderful. I think this dude's going to take Cook. He would be crazy not to, but there's enough Genty bulls out there. If I get a Cook Hampton turn here, I'm going to be a happy camper. We took
Oh yeah, it wasn't Josh Allen at the 1-2 turn
it
or
was
at the 1-2 in
it was
our mock draft.
Genty.
It was Genty.
It was
Yeah.
Genty. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Here's a
Okay.
question for you. In redraft, here, make a picks first. Talk about that first.
Yeah, so full PPR. I now in full PPR, I'm crushing Genty at the 1-2 turn. I think I prefer Hampton and Saquon for safety over him, depending on who I'm pairing him with. But I think he does catch 65 to 75 balls this year, which in full PPR means he's a crush. And then Hampton, I just want to keep jamming this pick, dude. I feel really, really good about Hampton. Again, he said he expects to catch 50 to 60 passes this year. So I don't prefer this combination in redraft because in redraft the floor of this room at the 1-2 turn could be nothing. Like I would probably go ahead and take one of those guys with like Chase Brown or Devon Achan if this was redraft full PPR, or Kenneth Walker if that's your thing, or a Saquon in there. But again, right, this is best ball $3 entries. We're shooting for crazy ceiling, and this is just so fun to me to have Genty and Hampton. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was wondering where you're at with for redraft if you're drafting it exactly the 11 or 12
Mm-hmm.
and CD Lamb falls there. Are you interested in taking CD Lamb at that price, or are you passing on him? Because I had that happen. I did another mock draft after you were getting ready, and I took the 11th spot because I figured, oh, I could just start running back, right? CD Lamb was still available, and the guy in front of me took James Cook. So what I did there is I took Saquon at the 111, and then Genty made it back to me at the 2-2. So that's what I did. But like, it felt weird leaving CD there. But like, my theory was like the replacement of wide receivers, right? Like, I just preferred to stack up the wide receivers in later rounds. Like, but like, where do you think if CD falls, right? Like, where do you think is an appropriate place to take him, or where would you not be able to say no to him anymore?
So I'm trying to work out in my rank. I'm actually hammering out my wide receiver rankings right now. That's the next thing, right? Because I've done all three other positions, and wide receiver I actually find to be the most difficult. Okay, so this tier right here is giving me hell between CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown. Because to me there is kind of a tier break, and some are going to have Drake London in there, but Drake London has like Tua with back injuries and Penix throwing to him. I don't think he can be in this tier. To me, it's AJ Brown, Jefferson, Lamb, and it's about how do you distinguish between those two guys. I am very nervous about Kyler Murray. I'm very nervous that at some point we see JJ McCarthy play this year. So I think like the profile wise, I'm just probably not taking Jefferson in redraft, right? So that solves that problem. But then you have this big issue of one, and then AJ Brown, right? Like I'm going to take my shots on him when I'm more in this range of 3, 4, 5, and I'm coming back around and there's a running back run. That's where I'm going to get my AJ Brown shares. So AJ Brown is out of the running for me there, but I actually don't hate it. Like if you're big on Jefferson or AJ Brown and you want to take a wide receiver there, I think they're both fine. Lamb is the one that I like the most out of those three, I think. And I think in my rankings, I'm going to have Lamb as wide receiver 5, AJ Brown as wide receiver 6, Jefferson as wide receiver 7. I think that's how I'm going to play it. I think my bigger problem with Lamb is One, the defense should be a little bit better this year. So I don't know how they're going to, like, if they're going to have quite the same passing volume, but Vegas thinks they will. Two, like, George Pickens, dude, they said they're redesigning the offense to feed George Pickens out of the slot. Now, I don't. CeeDee Lamb out targeted him when they were on the field together last year, and George Pickens actually had a lot of wide receiver 3 weeks with CeeDee Lamb healthy. So, like, that might be me taking that a little bit too much into consideration, like, maybe more so than is rational. I think, like, that's a real competition as far as touches between those two, and I think that they both sort of, like, maybe limit the league winning upside that either one may have. Right? So that's my opinion, but that's a controversial take that I think a lot of people would think it's not close between the two of them. So where would I take CeeDee Lamb? I'm not taking him ahead of Cook. I'm not taking him ahead of Taylor or McCaffrey. And I probably still prefer Hampton, Barkley, Genty. So for me, it would be like if he falls to 13, 14. That's where I'll take him. But I still think like in full PPR, it's a league winning pick because he could catch 160 balls. So full PPR, it's a little bit different. In our half PPR Yahoo, I'm still going to take Barkley, Hampton, and Genty ahead of him. And then I'll consider him after that.
Yeah, it's just from like for me the issue I was having was from like a roster construction standpoint, right? Like you could take whatever your favorite. I guess you would have to take CD first round, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking like if you're gonna play the ADP game, you take CD in the first round. You take whatever your favorite or whatever cluster of running back, second round running backs are available.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to wait on the long turn
Mm-hmm.
where you're looking at like maybe ETN falls there and that becomes interesting. But like you're looking at like Kyron Williams, Javante maybe, and you're missing out on guys like Waddle, like Buka, maybe Neighbors if he falls right. Like I think that maybe you could get Josh Jacobs if he's buried, right? If he's buried in ADP and people
Yeah.
aren't thinking about it, maybe. But I don't want to take that risk. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Because I'd be happy with CD if I knew I could get Jacobs in round 3 and reach down. But I see people are reaching down for him in those lobbies. So
Oh, I don't think he's going to be there at the 3-4 turn in Yahoo or in ESPN or sleeper leagues. No, Jacobs is not going to be there at the 3-4 turn. So to me, it's like now you're comparing that last little brick of running back, like what I called the pseudo running back ones in the running back article. Like you're there with okay, so weird fall here. I would have loved to have gotten my hands on Lad McConkey. I think he would have been a great value. I think 3-4 turn T Higgins is absolutely bananas, and I kind of just want to when we keep pulling these back of the draft picks. I'm totally comfortable taking 2 wide receivers at the 5-6 turn. So that means that I'm going to go T Higgins and Josh Jacobs again. So that is our start. Genty, Hampton, T Higgins, Josh Jacobs. That opens up the Joe Burrow stack if we want to go there. But I like to catch up at receiver here first. So we'll probably go receiver on the next turn. And that's how I'm playing it in redraft too, by the way. Like I you know, in redraft, Jacobs isn't going to be here, but I'll double tap receiver here, and I'll be perfectly happy with a nice balanced start.
well, if you're waiting until the 7-12, right? I don't think Burrow's falling to the 7-12. Too
No,
many people like him.
no, it opens up Burrow at the 5-6 turn, but I tend to just leave that. Like if
Yeah.
you know, especially for redraft. For redraft, it's not close. For redraft, I'm not going quarterback at the. If I start off like this, I'm gonna fill out my wide receiver room and maybe take a tight end if there's one there. Like maybe a Kraft falls into play there or a Warren. No, for that, see again, like I'll forego the stack because I also don't mind. Right, we're gonna be at the 7-8 turn. I don't mind doing a Herbert Hampton stack. One, because they do pass to one another, but two, like you still get a good portion of that offensive production with the two of them. It's sort of a, you know, it's not like a formal stack, but it's not bad. We were talking about something interesting. Okay, so how do you look at like CeeDee Lamb at the 1-2 turn? So to me, it's like, do I want, say I'm taking James Cook or Omarion Hampton or Ashton Genty or Saquon Barkley. So one of those 4 guys that I think they are league defining running backs, in my opinion. Okay, so if I had one of those 4 guys and then I get like an Igbuka, a Waddle, or a Lad McConkey at the 3rd, the late 3rd, or a Zay Flowers, I think will be there on Yahoo, right? One of those guys that I think also could be a wide receiver one. How do I compare that with like Javante Williams or Kyron and CD? For me, it's not close. I want one of those 4 running backs, and I want one of those fringe wide receiver one guys that are in the 3-4 turn. That's how I personally feel. If there are some people who are really bullish on Javante, there are some people that are still really bullish on Kyron. If you think those guys could be back end running back ones or mid range running back ones this year, which they both were last year, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to think. Then yeah, take CD because he has shown in the past he has wide receiver one overall upside. That's just personally not how I'm building my rosters this year. Really beautiful three, in my opinion, between Jamar Chase, George Pickens, and Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice gives you the stability. Pickens and Chase, massive ceiling. That's a cool room. I would take Tootin there. He did take Tootin there. Certainly how I would fill that up. And then I would come around and get Swift or Montgomery, and you're off to an absolute banger start, my guy. Wolf 8817.
Yeah, Rashee Rice feels like the fantasy community is starting to fade him a little bit because of a singular clip from Twitter where he didn't look very agile running a post route. I'm buying that dip.
Mm-hmm. I still think he's by far and away the best receiver there. I think you're talking yourself in circles, or you're talking yourself into knots if you're trying to say why Rashee Rice does not get fed this year in Kansas City. Again, if they get Diggs, we can have a more robust conversation. If they get Brandon Ayuk, sure, maybe there's a conversation to be had there. Like some guy that I think still has some juice in the tank, Keenan Allen. Those would affect me a little bit. So this guy loses the Swift Montgomery. Swift Montgomery would have been a banger with that Tootin pick. I'm wondering if he goes Trevion, maybe a little Bucky Irving, take the big shot there.
I do think like when you're drafting running back in round 5, Price is not the guy I would have picked there. But there's enough running backs in round 5 that like I'm okay with clicking, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep, absolutely.
it's like Swift and Monty if he's there. Judkins and Price are the ones I'm kind of sitting out of in the 5th round. But yeah, Hendo I'm kind of weirdly in on too. Like that running back cluster, I think there's some value there. I don't think it's going to be like the classic running back dead zone where you're just SOL. Dude, Terry went to the 5-6.
Yeah, you get weird ADPs
And Mike
here.
Evans.
You get weird ADPs here. I would not have taken ETN here, but if this guy went Tootin over ETN, that's incredible, right? Amon-Ra, Devon Achan, Flowers, Tootin, McLaurin would have been my pick. That's really cool. That's a pretty banger start, even though I'm not necessarily a mid-second Bowers guy. But yeah, so I think you're raising a really interesting point. And again, for me, I'm not comfortable with Scattaboo personally. I'm getting a little skittish about him, but like a lot of people are totally comfortable with Scattaboo. I think you have a really strong. The reason that I'm totally comfortable going 3 wide receiver builds in redraft this year from the 3 or the 4 specifically, or the 5 if you have to, is because I think you can still come around and get 2 running backs that are really quality. And that's fine if you do that. I do think you're running the risk, though, like always, if those guys have different risk profiles, and you may get into a situation where you don't feel good about your RB2 and you still spent the top 5 draft pick on it, like a top 5 round draft pick. It's a little bit risky. I prefer to be taking receiver at this range, but you're totally fine if you go running back. Okay, Roma Dunze would be a treat here. Parker Washington, we stayed jamming. Much to Ted's chagrin. I would prefer Rome here. I think he's a much safer pick, but we just keep, again, whenever we're back in these back 3 picks, I keep taking these dudes. Maybe we'll mix in a little bit of, I'm actually bullish on Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. Okay, it does not matter. We get what I consider to be a great fall here. We're going to go Roma Dunze, and we are going to go Parker Washington. Would have been happy with any of those 4. I'm coming around on Marvin Harrison Jr. personally. I think that's going to be someone who I'm taking a little bit here in the 7th round. Year 3 breakout of what was considered to be a generational talent. The coaching staff, the quarterback, everyone is pretty clear in saying he is their one. I know there's some Michael Wilson bulls out there. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. breaks out a little bit this year. Not like that I'm all in on him, but I think I really do want to have him as one of my guys at this price point. So great start to the draft, in my opinion. Maybe Ted disagrees. Genty, Hampton, T. Higgins, Roma Dunze, Parker Washington, Josh Jacobs.
It's just the Parker Washington thing. I really like that start of the draft. And, you know,
yeah,
you're going to keep doing your Parker Washington thing, and we're just going to have that battle of ideologies all year.
Okay. It's going to be embarrassing if it falls out. Go ahead.
So to kind of go back to the Rashee Rice point, last year's Best Ball Mania winner, Sam Sherman, great follow on Twitter. He is a great memer. But he goes, I'm going to read this verbatim. Don't want to overreact to bad Rashee Rice news, but don't want to underreact either. Who is a wise person who said that before? This is not a great NFL wide receiver. This is a PPR fantasy scam who was very inefficient last season. They ran the offense through him. It sucked. You don't think after an offseason in jail they could reevaluate? Um, so if that kind of talk from leading, I guess, thought leaders in the fantasy community is going around, right? And you start seeing Rasheed Rice leaking in deeper and deeper into the third round, I'm going to implore you guys to draft him. Like, please draft Rasheed Rice before Malik Neighbors. I think that's a much better bet. Um, Not to say I'm not in on Malik Neighbors now, but I think that's going to be a steal, especially if he starts going lower in draft rooms.
That's right about where, like, again, because I think we're different because I'm a little bit higher on. I think I'm a lot higher on Smith than you, but I'm high on Pickens as well. So for me, I have these three that are sort of developing their own tier: Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Malik Neighbors, and Rashi Rice, and that's sort of like that 2-3 turn back end of the turn wide receiver tier. I really like all of them. I really like all of them as players. I like all of them as upside cases. I have a hard time being like, oh, it's clearly this or that for me.
The Smith thing for me is just how bad Jalen looked last year. And we were reading before we actually started recording. Jalen Hurts is 59 passes into camp, has not thrown a touchdown yet. So I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about Jalen Hurts as a passer. So that kind of freaks me out a little bit. It makes me not want to draft Devontae Smith like in that early to mid third round. Like for me, I have Devontae Smith firmly under Trey McBride. Like I'll just be drafting Trey McBride instead of Devontae Smith straight up.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, they do. So they do have one of the easiest schedules in the league for receiver, right? So how much does that matter? I don't know. And then it's hard, right? You wonder how seriously should you take or not take some of this stuff. But the players, for whatever it's worth, the players have absolutely ranted and raved about how good of an OC Sean Mannion is. Seems like they're really excited about what he does. Um, I also am maybe a little bit worried that they got two guys that to me look clearly like they're going to operate out of the slot. And now maybe Stowers doesn't play a lot, but Micaiah Lemon they took top 20. I believe they traded up for him to go get him. I think it's fair to wonder to what degree those two guys work in the slot, and does that push Devonta outside? And Jalen's a little bit of a risky proposition at that point. I don't know. I think it's risky. Again, I don't really know how to decide. I think I definitely like Pickens. So I'm deciding, for me, it's Pickens above that tier of guys. I think I'm still going to probably take Pickens above Neighbors unless it looks like Neighbors is just all the way back. If it looks like Neighbors is all the way back, then he needs to be in the back end wide receiver one conversation, which means like you're looking at putting him behind Drake London and AJ Brown. That's sort of a hard. I'm going to just watch the news on that. And then Pickens versus Collins for me is really hard just because I like the offense so much more in Dallas. But Collins is the guy; he's the only guy there, and he faces a top 5 easiest schedule for wide receiver. It's a really hard range. It's just what kills me is I know one guy in there is going to absolutely outperform the rest of them just based on history. That's always how it works when you think there's these blobs. It's like it looks the same, but that's not how it works. There's one guy that totally dominates. Okay. Tucker Kraft would be an absolute dream to get here if we do. I haven't taken enough Justin Herbert, and I mean, I could stack Trevor Lawrence with Parker Washington. I do have Trevor Lawrence ahead of Justin Herbert in my old rankings there. Um, Yeah, but I've taken a good amount of Trevor Lawrence. I haven't taken a lot of Justin Herbert. Ideally, though, Tucker Kraft would be the guy that if he survives here, I'm going to be thrilled about. Okay, so I can go with two solid picks, or I can chase a stack. I don't have any other stacks that I can chase here, so we are going to chase a stack. We're going to do Tucker Kraft and Trevor Lawrence, stack them up with Parker Washington. Thrilled to get Tucker Kraft in the mid 80s after Sam Laporta goes at 72. Seems a little too aggressive for Sam Laporta, but in full PPR, maybe he pays off. Okay, so we get a stack. We get a nice balanced start, a 1-3-3-1. But personally, I'm extremely high on Trevor Lawrence. I'm thrilled to have him as a quarterback. I know some are not. And then Tucker Kraft, I think, is arguably the best value at tight end on the board besides Sam Laporta. So that is the team so far.
Hey man, it's putting a lot of stock in Parker Washington and Trevor Lawrence. If that hits, you might be one of the only people who's chasing that stack.
Oh, stop. I'm not one of the only people who's chasing that stack.
Dude, the Trevor ADP freaks me out this year just because like You say I prefer Trevor Lawrence to Justin Herbert.
Hmm.
Like maybe in fantasy that comes true. Um,
But
like
as
because
a
at the end of
player,
last year, Trevor was not even close.
yeah,
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 no,
it disgusts you.
Trevor
Yeah,
is yeah. Trevor misses so many throws, man. He freaks me out. But that's the Liam Cohen bonus. So
yeah. Yeah, again, so to me it is a correlated bet, right? Because you're betting on a few things. One, I think Trevor has weapons galore this year. I mean, when you just look at the four wide receivers who could be out there for them, Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, and Travis Hunter will probably rotate in. I think that's a really, really healthy four wide receivers. Like that's about as deep as anyone's starting four in the NFL. And then Brenton Strange, who I think is a great receiving tight end, and they went and got a rookie who's a pretty good tight end. And then you go Tootin, who I thought was really great out of the backfield last year, and the fact that Lawrence ran way more, I think that Lawrence actually has like real. I would not think it's shocking if we look up and he's like a point and a half a game behind the Lamar Jacksons and Josh Allens of the world. To me, that's what I'm chasing. But I think the floor is probably a lot lower because also he plays like a jackass, like he might get injured. Um, and then his throwing style, I feel really good about him getting the ball out of his hands quickly and over the middle. I don't know if people remember that year that Ingram caught like what was it 130 balls or something? Do you remember that? And we were all talking about Ingram as a top 10 tight end
I
because
mean, it was a lot of Mac Jones, but yeah.
no, Ingram was all Trevor Lawrence there. I think that was he got hurt the next year. Ingram though was because he was the big slot for Trevor, who likes to get the ball out of his hands quickly and over the middle of the field. And then remember Christian Kirk, I believe, was a wide receiver one at one point with Trevor Lawrence, like not that long ago. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago that Christian Kirk was a wide receiver one. To me, it's just
Hold on, I'm running this through here. So
check.
22,
I
no,
think it.
24.
I
No, it
think
was 23.
I think this was like 22, 23. We're talking about one year that Ingram exploded, and then either the next year or the same year Christian Kirk went off. I don't remember the
Yeah,
exact timeline.
I can run it by Mac Jones. That's the easiest way to tell. Yeah, that was the Trevor year. You're right. Mac's big year. He was the Brian Thomas Jr. guy.
He was the Brian Thomas
Brian
Jr. guy.
Thomas Jr. has been great. That was his best production. Was with Mac Jones.
Yep. And so, like to me, I think the bet that I'm making is one that has, as the feminist, every feminist and racial studies teacher that I had to take because I'm in a California state school system, they like to use this word because it sounds more official than saying the history of something. The historicity of something. When I look at Trevor Lawrence's historicity, as a quarterback and where he likes to work the field, it seems to me like there's a pretty strong historical trend that Trevor sort of has a range that he likes to pick at, and it seems to be the middle of the field. Okay, so this sucks a little bit. I keep taking like Dobbs because he's a good price. We're gonna mix in some other. I mean, so we have Trevor Lawrence. We'll do a Jacoby Myers stack here, and I keep taking Dobbs. I don't want to have like way overexposure to him. We'll mix in a little Golden. Worthy was carted off the field today, but it looks like it was a shoulder injury and he's fine, or he was escorted off the field. Maybe the other guy was carted, the rookie that everyone's all excited about. Some wide receivers got like taken off the field in a body bag in New England, so that's not great.
The part that concerns me about the Worthy news is that the shoulder was his big issue last year, along with the ankle, right? And shoulder injuries, because there's so much crap in your shoulder. The human body has like a million different muscles and tendons running through your shoulder, right? Like that could be a lingering issue. So I am more concerned about that injury versus like your random like hamstring tightness in camp, like Kalen Black had a tight hamstring. Left practice early today. Would you like to talk about the Niners injuries?
Not yet. I don't want to. We can save that. It'll be a rant. It'll be a good rant. So I actually went White there because in full PPR he's more appealing to me, and there's a huge running back drop off. I think we can catch up at receiver here. I'm still pretty happy with these four: Higgins, Odunze, Parker, Washington, and Myers, both stacked with Lawrence. 133 would be a reach for Brenton Strange at tight end too, but it's another Lawrence stack. I don't know if 3 stacks is a little bit too heavy. We'll see who's there. I'd rather go wide receiver here at the next turn and fill out our room. Feeling pretty good about a nice balanced start. And really, those four running backs should, in theory, be all you need. Because if you're taking scores beyond these three, like your roster's probably in serious trouble. What were we saying? 49ers injuries, but what were we saying before that? It was something interesting. Damn it.
It's
I
the
hope.
Xavier Worthy shoulder,
Oh, there's
kind
yeah,
of hanging
yeah,
out differently than your
yeah.
classic injury report from camp.
Yeah. So I have a torn labrum in my shoulder. When I work out, when I lift, I in high school I benched 335 at 18 years old, and I used to do 225 25 times, 23, 24, 25 times, something like that. I had our school's bench press record for a while, and I blew out my shoulder badly at 18. I completely blew out my shoulder because I was pushing way too much weight. I was like 190 pounds doing that, and so I have a torn labrum in my left shoulder that I never got repaired because the repair is pretty like extensive and it's like torn. It is crazy because when you get to that point, you feel the muscle ligaments clicking around in your shoulder, and then it affects your rotator cuff and your shoulder stability, and you don't feel like you can like take hits on it, and you can't push off on it, and you can't pull balls, and like if his strength at the catch point is going to be really affected by that. I do wonder if that's like, I don't know. Are we calling it like career threatening for Worthy at this point? If it keeps becoming a recurrent issue, his career has not been off to a banger start so far.
Career threatening, I don't think so, but
Just not good.
yeah, it's not good. I think it could be an annoyance this year.
Yeah. No.
God, R.I.P. Ricky Pearsall up here in ADP at 127. Did
Killed.
someone take him?
No. No.
No, there he
He's
is.
on
Okay.
IR. He's on IR. They're not gonna. His ADP is gonna sink all the way to the end of drafts until he falls off the face of the earth.
Someone took Ricky in the Yahoo lobby today.
Hey
Someone ripped
man.
him in at the 9-8.
Well, so the joke is because a lot of these guys that are doing like bulk submissions to tournaments, are, you know what? We're gonna keep a little flame on for Deshaun Stribling at this turn, depending on how this breaks. Who's on the board? I think I prefer Stribling to Debo this year, which maybe is going to end up being a hot take come draft season. I think I'm going to take a good amount of Stribling. So like a lot of these dudes that do, damn it, there goes Dobbs. That would have been a great faller. A lot of these dudes that do bulk entries to these low stakes leagues, they'll auto 150 entries because on Underdog and here you can just set it to go by your rankings. You set position limits and then it's going to draft your team kind of like you would, right? It's always a little goofy when they do. So like those big spenders that max out every low stakes tournament, the joke is with all of them, they're going to end up getting a lot of Ricky Pearsall because you can't. I mean, you can nuke them in your rankings, right? But if you haven't done that, like there's going to be a lot of auto drafted teams with old Rick in there, pretty high too.
Yeah, man. Big bummer. Because I mean, like in redraft at the 9-8, I probably would have taken a lot of Ricky Pearsall. But
Oh God, yeah.
now we're shopping in the Jalen Cokers of the world.
Yeah, man, I was going to be pretty. Oh, interesting. Is that Brenton Strange? No, okay. So we're going to hope he comes all the way back around to us on the long turn. Probably unlikely. I do love Chig in full PPR quite a bit. Are we up yet? Okay. So Rashid Shaheed has been our typical jam here. I mean, I kind of just keep taking him because I think he's the best value proposition at range. I think in full PPR, I'm very interested in Jalen Coker, right? Because he's going to get a lot of volume. I don't want to reach on Stribling when we have like two guys here that are pretty good. I shouldn't have said Joe Coker's going to get a lot of volume like I know. I do think he sees a good amount of volume, from the big slot there, even though they're going to move Tetaroa around. I think it's clearly a two-man show there. We'll take a Jalen Coker share. We'll take a Rashid Shaheed share. Probably should have checked the quarterbacks there, but we can see
What
if
about
Bryce.
taking that guy who eats raccoons?
Oh, Leggett. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm good off. I'm good off raccoon
The
eating.
Niners could have drafted Leggett instead of Ricky.
I don't know if you recall, I messaged you that night like it should have been Leggett. I thought that was going to be who they took. I thought he was going to be a good, not, yeah, it was Leggett. Yeah, I thought he was going to be a good college player, but for me, the issue was that Lad McConkey was on the board when they took Ricky Pearsall, and Lad McConkey had a great pedigree, high-end college competition. I don't know what you were thinking uh, leaving him there, but they did. Could you imagine if Lad McConkey was the 49ers wide receiver next to Mike Evans right
I
now?
mean, he probably would have also gotten shot and
Yeah,
his ligaments destroyed.
yeah.
Like that's just kind of how it. I don't think, like, if we're talking about the ceiling of a player, I think that Ricky could be just as good as Lad. I know I've said that before. I do believe that Ricky could be that good though, but now we're getting into scary territory here. And yeah, just because Lad McConkey was there, like I'm certain if he was a Niner, he would just be injured all the time too. Like, this is how it goes.
What do you think it is? Do you think it is bad? I mean, Rob, Stats on Fire, the whiny dude who I'm not a fan of from 49ers Twitter. Um, he was, taking to Twitter to take the team to task. Like, what is it about your athletic trainer that is unfireable? Like, why are we not willing to can this guy when he's clearly incompetent? Which maybe that's a fair question. Um, do you buy into the substation shit? Is it just bad luck? Is it as simple as just bad things sometimes happen and the 49ers are reciprocants of quite a bit of that?
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think that electromagnetic waves are messing with the player's muscles. I think that is just kind of like a weird. It sounds like Christian kind of started it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Christian's kind of a little bit weird with the things he does for his body and health, right? And it sounds like he was concerned about it. It's kind of picked up steam as a rumor, right? Because Christian is so well respected in that locker room, and I just think it's bad luck. I just simply think we are cursed.
Okay, I like how it's too woo woo for you to insinuate that electricity affects muscles in a distinct way, but you're willing to like Indian burial ground curse, like
Yes, I think that it's more likely that the practice facility was built on
on a
Indian
burial
burial
ground.
grounds, and that's what's affecting the team
Oh
versus
God,
electromagnetic waves.
dude, do you remember that crazy article from it was like one of the stupid publications that I don't read. I think it was BuzzFeed. They hired witches to curse Charlie Kirk 3 days before he was shot. Do you remember that? They had to retract the article. And like all I was, they did though. They performed a ritual to curse him before he was shot in the neck. And all I was thinking is like, dude, someone needs to chase down those witches and like at least ask some questions. Not like that they did anything, but I'd like to like apparently there's more to witchcraft than I ever believed because he was killed the that week. Um, okay, so we're gonna hope a couple guys fall. I'll take the Bryce Young, Jalen Coker stack. I don't really like Bryce Young, but the joke between us is an uncorrelated Bryce Young. I had both of these guys in my queue ahead of him. Probably, I mean, I like C.J. Stroud so much more than Bryce Young, but I think I would rather the stack there, and I don't really
Oh,
take a
there
lot of
goes
them.
Ricky.
Yeah, there goes Ricky Pearsall. Hopefully that was an auto draft, sir. Hopefully that was an auto draft. And then Brenton Strange would be the big one. Continues to be one of my most prized possessions here. He is my tight end that I have the most exposure to on Underdog at like 28%. I am very happy to have secured 23% Terrence Ferguson ahead of all the steam he is getting in the coach speak index. Now, I would say that generally speaking, maybe more so than any coach I can think of off the top of my head in the NFL, Sean McVay is famous for being like, we're getting this dude involved. He's going to be a big part of what we're doing. We're jamming him in our lineups and all this stuff. And then he just doesn't do it. He said it about like 6 different running backs, 6 different receivers, multiple tight ends that I can think of over the last few years. And then they're just not omnipresent the way he says they're going to be. Cool. Really fortunate turn here. We get Brenton Strange to stack with Trevor Lawrence, and then we get a Bryce Young. Again, I prefer Jones and Stroud, but I just don't have a stack with either of them. And that is Stroud like 15 picks behind it. You know what? No, we're not taking Bryce Young. I can't do it. We're gonna take an unstacked Stroud over a correlated Bryce Young because he's 15 picks behind ADP, and I much prefer him to Young. Probably a little light on the quarterback room still. We probably should add one more dude here. Maybe we'll look for a Geno Smith like after this turn. I guess it would be 20 picks. So we'll see.
Let
If
the record
anybody does
show
fall.
that free Tendies fantasy are CJ Stroud Bulls.
Yep.
I think CJ Stroud is very good at football,
Yep.
and you guys are underestimating him.
Yep. Always, always, always. I'm sorry, dude. I keep losing my train of thought I feel like an idiot whenever I do that. We were totally rolling on something. Um, I don't know. So my personal thing with the 49ers, because it is such an outlier, like, if you're thinking about it like scientifically, like the way you would investigate a scientific phenomenon, you would be like, well, okay, there's something that is co-varying with being a 49ers player because it is such an outlier thing that keeps occurring here, right? Like there has to be some variable that goes along with being a 49ers player that is related to being a 49ers player, obviously, because it's affecting those players disproportionately. What is the variable? I think the easiest answer is probably the athletic training staff. It's just like that there's something that they do systemically. Either in practice, they drive their guys way too hard, or the offensive training staff's incompetent. And there's something that goes on there that creates a situation where players are not getting the preventative or post-injury care that they need, is what I would assume. But
Well, at least for the Ricky Pearsall situation, I do think they played that correctly because he played at the end of last year, right? Unless they had said you're getting the surgery now, which I think that would have been way too hasty for a PCL injury where most of them just are healed without surgical procedures, right? But if Ricky had gotten the surgery this summer, he still would have been out all year, right? So I think that the wise play actually was to try and see if it would heal kind of on its own over the off season because we're not really nothing is really changing on the timeline now that he's getting the procedure. It's still like kind of an all year deal, right? So I don't really blame them for that. And then like random muscle, I guess strains or random ACLs tearing. Like I don't know. Like you can't physically train your ACL. Like when Brandon Ayuk's knee exploded, right? Like how are you supposed to physically train yourself to prepare for that? Like it's just kind of an unfortunate situation,
well, that
which
yeah,
is what I feel like is happening. Like
yep,
we don't have the situation like the Giants do at MetLife where like the turf is unacceptable. Like the Niners actually have grass that they play on at Levi's.
yep.
So all of those things, it just does make me think it's bad luck. But yeah, at a certain point, like even if it's not the training staff's fault, I feel like you do have to do something, just for the optics,
Just
right? Like
someone has to get fired.
yeah, yeah.
Someone has to eat it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also just wonder, like, do you think it's something like Kyle pushes the guys super hard in practice? Like, he's an old school dude. His dad is an old school coach. The Kubiaks and the Shanahans are old school dude. Remember Gary Kubiak had a heart attack on the sideline of a game? Do you remember that when he collapsed going there at halftime? He literally almost worked himself to death on the field. Like
Do
they're
not remember
oh
that.
my god, yeah, dude, they were giving him like CPR there.
I would
So
be very excited for Fernando Mendoza if he falls. By the way, if you
yes,
want a QB3.
yep. So this is an eat your vegetables type pick because I love Samson, Ferguson, AJ Barner. I think are really good, but Dalton Schultz stacks up with CJ Stroud, gives us at least one CJ stack. We can chase like a round 20 Jalen Naylor or not Jalen Naylor. The other dude,
Jake
the other
Dodges.
rookie. No, the other rookie there, I mean. But this gives us a stack with CJ Stroud, and this reinforces our QB room because I do believe Fernando Mendoza plays this year. I don't think he's a zero like the coaching staff is saying. Um, so this is an eat your vegetables turn. Reinforce the tight end room, reinforce the quarterback room, then we can pick value all the way down. It does kill me a little bit to leave some guys that I'm a huge fan of on the board, Ferguson, Sampson, and Barner, who almost certainly will not be there, but that's what we're going to do. Fernando Mendoza, Dalton Schultz. Nice stable 3-4-6-3. We can leave tight end and quarterback alone the rest of the draft. Our four running backs I feel great about because they're White, Jacobs, Hampton, Genty. So it's not really a priority there. The bigger thing is making sure we try to get some wide receiver value as it falls here. Going to be a little bit tough at this range, right? We're getting pretty low here, and these guys are probably all
Calvin Ridley's
gone.
way too low, I
Yeah.
think.
Yep, absolutely. These guys, again, are probably all going to be gone by the time we're here, but we'll keep trying. Um, Keenan Allen apparently has an offer on the table from the Colts. That would be pretty cool if he ends up going to the Colts. Apparently, Debo left an offer on the table from the Colts to come back to the Niners. So the Colts actually offered him, I believe it was reported as more money. Chose the 49ers.
Dude, I'm so happy Debo's back, man. We've talked about this before, but back in 23, I guess, the year that Brandon Ayuk was still playing for the 49ers and Debo was playing, this has been a hot debate between me and Yanni about the direction the Niners should take moving forward. Debo, I'm not going to lie, I am a homer for that guy. He's one of my favorite Niners of all time. I really like just the guy, right? So I was very Debo pilled, and we don't need to pay Brandon Ayuk top five wide receiver money. We don't need to go over $30 million a year for him. And Yanni was very much a Debo is washed, get him out of here. Let's lock up Brandon Ayuk long term, right? Kind of guy. The Niners did go with Brandon Ayuk, and now what's happened? Brandon Ayuk is tweeting about how much he hates the team, and Debo's back. So W Ted, even though it feels like not a win
I
for the
mean,
Niners in any way, shape, or form.
yeah, I don't know. To me, I would have liked to seen what happened if Ayuk didn't blow out his knee and then blow out his mental fortitude. And Debo was also, I don't know if the league was exactly anxious to get him in their building. He sat till August, and then I believe produced like 600 yards the 2 years following 2023, right?
I
Didn't he
mean,
go
the
like
Skins were pretty excited to get him in the building,
yeah?
but then
Didn't he go for
after
like
that,
700 yards,
no
600
interest.
yards?
He was good at the beginning of the year, yeah, and
Yeah.
then obviously with the Jaden injury and stuff, and Debo was nursing his own injuries,
No.
it just kind of petered off there. But you got a couple good weeks from Debo. You
I
got some flexible weeks during the season.
Either way, dude, there's no discussion to me about like what happened afterward. Like I wrote that article today. I did do. It'll be my first article for 49ers Hub. I'm pretty excited about it. So Terrence Ferguson or Trey Harris would be great drops here. We will take Kayshon Boutte. I think Mooney is probably a little underpriced. Williams, I kind of want to keep hedging that maybe Diggs doesn't sign there, and then you're getting like a rookie slot receiver for them. Oh God, no! I can't take Ferguson because I took Strange and Schultz. Well, I can take a third tight end actually. Wait. Do I have three?
Maybe your fourth tight end.
I took. Yeah, can't do it. Damn it, dude.
Well, it sounds like Darnell Mooney right now is the favorite in camp to be doing the slot for the Giants.
Yep.
So I find that to be interesting.
Yep. I think his price should come up a little bit. I'd be pretty happy with a Boutte Mooney turn here, unless there's any like running back value on the board. Not really, but oh God.
A Boutte Mooney turn, like two synonyms for ass.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, dude. I mean, Hill is like the Katron out. These guys aren't going to be there. Okay, so we're going to go just a naked running back 5, but I don't mind doing a hyper fragile running back build when you have running backs like I have there. Yeah, we'll do if that's how it turns there. We will do Boutte and Mooney. I would take a little Bateman there. I might take Keenan Allen if one of those two guys goes. And then Ted Hurst is getting pretty good. That's a guy I'm watching pretty carefully because I keep jamming him here in rounds 18 to 20 in camp. I don't think he's a redraft guy you need to worry about. But for best ball, I think the risk reward is pretty good here. I do like Katron Allen. And God, dude, Ferguson there at 204. I wish I didn't have 3 tight ends, but we're gonna go with a couple dudes that I think are pretty fairly priced here. I don't think any of those 3 receivers are gonna be there on the comeback. We'll see. And then hyper fragile running back build, but 3 good ones: White, Josh Jacobs, Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty.
Yeah, is there any other running back that's worth drafting? Like maybe Claiborne.
Yeah.
That's the only guy. I guess Katron Allen too, but that kind of feels like a 0 to me.
Yep. Katron Allen, I mean, he's like interesting to me. Like if you're drafting Katron, it's more that like he may get the goal line role there because he's such a big, strong dude, and he's really physical. The team had an interesting soundbite on that about when they were running without pads. They said, "We'll wait to get the pads on." That's really what Katron Allen is here to do. So it's sort of like that they view him as a bruiser. Just throwing anyone in here that I would like to round out a draft with. You're getting pretty skimpy by the time you're down here, but if there's not a running back I like, we're just going to call it at 4 and hope those 4 can float us. Oh, Jalen Noel for a last-minute CJ Stroud stack is maybe interesting. I think I prefer these 2.
What about Brandon Ayuk? Do you think there's an 80% chance he plays this year?
Yeah.
Would you like to put your money where your mouth is on that?
Oh, actually, and I just wrote, so my first article for 49ers Hub is about how I believe the Raiders come and get Brandon Ayuk in September. So that would be sort of a fun way to correlate. But we have to see who's here because a lot of these guys I still do actually like more than Ayuk just because, the floor is 0 there. Yeah, I wrote a whole thing covering, and it was actually really interesting the more I got into it, covering Brady's history of bending the arms of organizations to force them to get controversial receivers. It's actually something he's done on 3 separate occasions. He went and got Josh Gordon following 4 drug suspensions, forced the organization to get Josh Jordan, won a Super Bowl that year when he did so. In 2019, after Antonio Brown was cut from the Raiders, he had the Patriots force the organization to go get him despite Bill Belichick not wanting him. In 2020, after he was suspended for 8 weeks for sexual assault, moved Antonio Brown into his house with his children and wife. Proceeded to override Bruce Arians to have Bruce Arians bring in Antonio Brown. Won a Super Bowl when he did it. Interestingly enough, both of the Super Bowls that Tom Brady won by getting Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon, he beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs on the way there. He might have swung a 4 Super Bowl difference in legacy between the Chiefs and between Brady and Mahomes by going and getting controversial receivers and doing that. Can you imagine how attached Brady is to the idea of catching a falling knife of a controversial receiver to create wins? In my opinion, there is a very clear example of the next one in the NFL to be that guy. Now, he didn't sexually assault anyone and he didn't get suspended 6 times for drugs. He's just a jackass on social media. I think Brandon Ayuk is a Raider. I think Brandon Ayuk fits the Kubiak scheme perfectly. I think Brandon Ayuk will end up being Fernando Mendoza's wide receiver one at some point this year. That is personally what I think.
He'd have to report to camp first.
Yep.
He'd have to report to camp and file for reinstatement, which are things he has not done yet.
Yep. And he might just be blackballed from the league. They might just decide you're an asshole and we're not dealing with you. But
like we talk about how Kaepernick got blackballed, quote unquote. He wasn't really. He sucked at football. But Brandon Ayuk could legitimately be blackballed for the way he's conducted himself.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, that's certainly a thing. To me, the only like line he really crossed where like people would be like, no, now it's a moral thing and we're not going to deal with you, is like making fun of Shanahan's car crash, because those are like, a lot of the NFL are family dudes. They don't need their kids wondering, like, if I get in a car crash, are my kids going to have this guy on social media making fun of me for getting in an accident? Like, that's a very bad.
Oh, dude, can I interest you in some James Conner round 20?
I've actually been thinking about that for if he gets traded. My big one here is going to be Keenan Allen. I would love to get Keenan Allen in the 230s. I think that's a really good value. I do think Elijah Surratt is probably the wide receiver 2 in Baltimore, even though they're saying Bateman.
You said it was Bateman yesterday. Make up your mind.
So on the depth chart, it's Bateman. I think eventually it's Surratt. So what are we thinking? I'm going to take Allen. Do we want the Jalen Noel stack with Stroud? Do we want the Brandon Ayuk meme with Fernando Mendoza for saying he's going to be his wide receiver 1?
I would go rookie. Noel and Connor. That's what I would do.
No, dude, I want Keenan badly. But that is a good point.
Just for the correlation with CJ.
Okay, yeah, there goes Keenan. I want Noel too. That's what we're going to do. Okay, hyper fragile running back build. 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 10 wide receivers, 3 tight end. Trevor Lawrence, Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, T. Higgins, Roma Dunze, Parker Washington, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs in the flex, Jacoby Myers, Rashad White as our 4th running back, Jalen Coker, Rashid Shaheed, Brenton Strange, CJ Stroud, Fernando Mendoza, Dalton Schultz, Kayshawn Booty, Darnell Mooney, Keenan Allen, and Jalen Noel. I'm actually pretty happy with that room. It's just that the propensity for the bottom to completely fall out is there with 3 running backs. It happens. Okay.
Yeah, if you're a believer in injury regression for the running back position, right? Building those types of rooms is a dangerous proposition.
Yep. I think my thing is just like, dude, if that happens, like, I'm not really worried about depth. If you take 3 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds and one of them dies, your rosters are probably done. So like, to me, the 4th one is there for like, does a guy miss 2 or 3 weeks? Fine, he'll float him for a little bit. And technically, you only need to take 2 scores, like you can take flexes from other ones. But to me, like, if you're at the point where you're going, God, I should have drafted a 5th running back after you take 3 in the first 4 rounds, your roster's done. Not the same thing in redraft, but certainly in best ball, in my opinion. So you're still sticking with Ayuk is out of the NFL. That is your opinion.
I think 0% chance this year, probably like 8% to ever play again. I think that the way he's conducted himself is such that he would have to be an all-time great player to be able to get another chance, and I don't think he was ever an all-time great player. He had one efficient season. Never caught more than 80 balls in a year. I thought he was overpaid to begin with.
I don't know if this is a true statement, but I don't know if he's joking or not, but this is a great way to sign out of the league. Sorry, John, it's with great sadness that I need to exit Free Tendies Fantasy League 10. I wish I could pay, but most of my money this fall has to go to my ex-wife and her new money-grubbing husband. She's getting the house and a new set of cans. Thanks for the memories and Godspeed. I'm going to assume he's joking. I hope he's joking, because if not, I'm
Who
very
said that?
a guy who can't afford his fantasy dues now. I don't want to say his name because, like, I don't know if that's a real. I think that's a joke, but if not, God.
I think that sounds real to me.
I know, dude. I know. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. And then it looks like, God, man, payments have been rolling in all day. I'm surprised that many people hopped to it and paid. Thank you, guys. Just a bunch of dudes. God. Catherine, champion in League 4. Good for you, ma'am, who beat me. Because I started Tetero McMillan over Luther Burden in that league, and I lost by 6. I would have won had I started Luther Burden over Tetero. She took me down in the championship last year. Very well played, my friend. And now she's in League 7. League 7 has like 4 or 5 champions in there now. That is going to be a Shark Tank this year.
Oh, I'm in League 7. That's the other league I'm in.
That is
I
a
just joined
Shark
League
Tank.
15. I just joined League 15 today. The K train's coming for you.
Let's go, man. Oh, God. Yeah. Yep. Let's go, dude. It's awesome. Oh God, it's disturbing. Domino's had that 7-topping large pizza for $10 thing. I was wrecking that when I was traveling for a couple weeks because, like, you just want something quick. It's one meal. I now get text messages from Domino's, like, "Hey man, do you want anything else?" Like, I bought so many pizzas from them during that deal that they messaged me.
Dude, there was a period of time where Domino's was giving me like a coupon for a free pizza every time I'd get a delivery.
Oh
And
God.
I just never used those.
Oh dude.
Because, like, it only lasted for a week. And I was like, dude, I'm not ordering Domino's twice in a week. Like, that's too much Domino's.
I would say it's been pretty good. I don't know. I had a good time. I don't really like pay for. If I get pizza, I'll get like a Costco pizza because it's a large pizza for $10. That's reasonable to me. Now, like a round table large is like $37.50.
Oh, dude,
And-
Round Table's outrageous.
and then,
outrageous pricing.
And like Mountain Mike's, which is pretty good, but they used to have like, I don't even remember. I think it was like you could get a specialty pizza for $20 or $25. You get everything large for like $20 or whatever. Maybe 5 or 10 years ago is reasonable. Now a Mountain Mike's large is, I think, $38. I'm not doing that, dude.
I'll tell you the Mountain Mike's hack. The key is you don't actually get a pizza in Mountain Mike's.
You get the
What
cheese
you do-
bread thing.
Yes, the cheese bread is like $12, and it's the size of a pizza.
Yeah.
It is just cheese and garlic and ranch, and it's delicious.
I don't know, dude. I'm not paying sushi meal price. I can go get all you can eat sushi, sashimi, nigiri, all of it for like $30. There's no way I'm paying that for a pizza. It's just not happening.
I'd imagine that's pretty good up there near the water too. Right?
Yeah.
Like I live in Chico, so we have one good sushi place, but for the most part, like there's not a wide selection of options there.
Okay, please go McCaffrey here, sir, so I can go with St. Brown. He's one of my favorite picks in this format. I will do a little McCaffrey to start things off, if so. PPR darling, Christian McCaffrey. Cool. Thanks, dude. Start 3 wide receiver, full PPR. I think Amon-Ra needs to be considered in the top 5 for most drafters here.
You didn't want Christian McCaffrey anyways, especially if he goes down and like the Niners just go down in flames. Then you look at your I guess distribution of McCaffrey rosters. If you're like 30% McCaffrey, that just sounds awful.
Well, dude, you were saying like I got a lot of first-round picks in the free Tendies leagues. Yeah, I did. Remember, I got him when Christian McCaffrey was the first overall pick. I had like 40% roster exposure to Christian McCaffrey that year. It's gut-wrenching to roster him, man. And like last year, I was willing to go back in, but I sort of in my head like treated that as my one last time I would do that. And then he proceeded to whatever he did. What did he do? Like 430 touches or 485 touches last year. I'm probably just going to let it go. I'm probably going to opt for the safety of Cook or Jonathan Taylor, who I think if he hits his 95th percentile outcome is not that much different than McCaffrey. He was outscoring McCaffrey before the Daniel Jones injury last year.
If Jonathan Taylor hits his 95th percentile outcome, I think he's up there with Gibbs and Bijan.
Yeah,
he was the best running back in the league last year before Dimes went down. Like he was the league winner.
That's my
like
thing.
RB1 by a long shot.
So yeah. I'm just drafting around that what I consider to be like a season ruining potential pick in McCaffrey. I know in home leagues, I know in our Yahoo $50 to $100, he's going to go top 5 almost certainly. It's just sort of the nature of those kind of rooms, but It's not someone who I'd never feel good about having McCaffrey on my roster, to be honest with you. You feel good about him when he's absolutely destroying the NFL. And then things come around where you're just like, ugh, we might have our chance at our little zero RB build here. I don't like Henry as much in full PPR, but I do really like Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry or AJ Brown in full PPR, what would your call here be? We will build based on what Theodore would do. Who are you taking?
Ugh. Just go AJ Brown, I guess. I don't like Derrick Henry.
Okay. Yeah, again, I'm much more likely to leave him on the in half PPR. I'm not leaving him on the board, but I'm much more likely to leave him on the board here.
Derrick Henry to me is the last call in the second round RB tier.
Yep, he's right there. I understand having whomever there. He's not going to be here on the comeback, but sure.
Yeah, it gets really bad at running back.
Yeah, so to me, if you punt a little bit like that, you're gonna have to come around. Hope Josh Jacobs is here, or one of those pseudo RB1s is still here, and then go from this group. So you're probably gonna go running back from 42 and 55. We'll see. Be interesting. A little bit of a different build. I do think though you have a pretty great like pillar of your team built between these two. You can pull Josh Jacobs up to the third here, or maybe take a look at Love there. But
if you don't have a running back yet and you get Love like in the mid third, I think it's okay at that point. But I am progressively getting more and more out on the Jeremiah Love idea.
Remember, historically, I mean, you get really annoyed with these things. Drake May at the 212, good work, man. I know you get really annoyed at the historical claims, and for good reason. I think they can be kind of annoying. But traditionally, going back to, I believe, 2000 from Pat Fitzmaurice at Fantasy Pros, whenever a running back has been taken in the top 5, they have produced, on average, an RB1 finish per year. So they tend to get around 1,400 to 1,500 yards, around 8 to 10 touchdowns. And I think if you get that, if you just basically get the historical average of running backs drafted in the top 5 since 2000, I think you'll be happy with Love in the mid-third. Will I take him in the second? No.
The issue for me, man, is what the coaches are saying, right? Like we had the hot hand comment from LaFleur earlier in the offseason. I just kind of said, oh, whatever on that, right? But now Tyler Algier is taking the first team reps. They're talking about, we want to find a way to get James Conner and Tyler Algier and Jeremiah Love
and
involved,
Benson,
right? Like
I think Benson. They've been giving Benson touches.
Dude, it's like you have a 4-headed monster on the lowest projected point total team by Vegas. And like if you're drafting at the beginning of the snake, right, and you're doing something like taking Jamar Chase at the 101 because you think he deserves to be the 101, right, you miss out on that like wave of RBs coming in and someone snipes Josh Jacobs from you. Like you might be looking at a room that's anchored by Jeremiah Love. That just seems freaky to me. And like just in a vacuum, like I prefer Kyron Williams to Jeremiah Love. I prefer Javonte Williams to Jeremiah Love and Josh Jacobs. All those guys I'm taking above Jeremiah Love. Even though he's a very exciting prospect, it's just the landing position was so bad. And ETN I'd probably take over Love too. So like I'm just kind of out.
Oh, that's out. Yeah. So that's just you're fading them off your board. That's okay. I'm like weirdly lower. So this is a funky start, by the way. But if it hits, oh boy, AJ has Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors. We are going for it. We may go full zero RB here. We may go full zero RB depending on what receivers on the board there.
For what it's worth, I don't think ETN is fundamentally that much different than like a Kyron.
ETN is not much
Javonte.
Yeah, but we'll see those.
Yeah, I'm not that concerned about the Kamara involvement. Like I think Kamara is going to be involved, and when ETN was like an early 3rd round pick, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But now that Kamara said he's like returning, right? You can get ETN in the 4th round sometimes, and I'm much more okay with that price point.
Yeah, I think that's where he's going to settle because I don't think ADP is going to push him above Javonte, Kyron, Love, that back end tier. Ooh, Igbuka at the turn. That is wonderful, sir. Good for you. Go Waddle here. Be a man after my own heart and get Waddle to tag him on there. Oh, Zay Flowers was still on the board. Oh my God, wild. I would love, again, maybe that's not the guys that I necessarily would have picked at the turn, but oh, that is fantastic value, dude, between those two. I think in redraft, that's a totally realistic 3-4 turn. Igbuka and Flower. If I can get that in Yahoo, I'll be doing jumping jacks. Like, I hope we're sitting here on a stream, on video, and I can hit that combo there. And Lad McConkey, too, would be right in there for me. Waddle
I
would be
was
right
seeing
there for me.
Igbuka in the fourth. Every single mock. I only did two
Oh.
mocks today, but Igbuka was a fourth round pick in both of them. So
Uh,
if you are an Igbuka guy, if you're drafting at the end of the snake, you can go RB, like something like T Higgins and Mecca Igbuka
oh my
to
god,
start your
dude.
draft.
Okay, so T. Higgins I consider too much of a value this low. I would take T. Higgins if he slid, but if not, we're going to anchor our running back room with Javante or Josh Jacobs. Um, I mean, either way, they're both so much better for my build. I just like the idea of like if I'm going to go with a crazy wide receiver room, I want a really crazy wide receiver room, and that's certainly one of them. Okay, there goes T. Higgins. So we will take whomever falls between Jacobs and Williams. I prefer Jacobs by a good margin there. Great. Okay. All right. We're rolling. Any of these dudes, if you could come back to me, I would be thrilled. I will throw a little Trevion or Bucky into this build here.
Yeah, man, this is what you were talking about earlier, right? Like if you do start with the premium wide receiver in the first three rounds, like you can still bring it back. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you're getting the right guys in round five. I think you can draft the wrong guys in round five.
Mm-hmm.
Like Quinshawn Judkins, I think is one of the wrong guys in round five, and Price is the other one I think is the wrong one. But if you pick the right round five RB dead zone guy, like that could be the difference in your league right there because you have Amon Ra and Neighbors, right? And AJ Brown too.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear though about like in redraft, especially in half PPR, there's no way Josh Jacobs would be here. You're likely going to end up getting Tootin or ETN. Now, those are two guys like I have Tootin above ETN, but both of them are right there in that mid-range round 4 for me, or Scattaboo. I'm totally comfortable. Personally, for me, it would be Tootin, ETN, Scattaboo would probably be my order there. I'm totally comfortable if that's how you start your draft and redraft. I don't think Josh Jacobs. I don't think there's any way, especially once the suspension concerns are gone. I don't think there's any way that Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to end up going 24 to 30. He's going to be his redraft ADP, but like I still would feel great about Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Neighbors, ETN, or Tootin. The only thing I don't like about it is I love the wide receiver value at the 6-7 turn, and I think you have to let that go. And then you're taking guys like, again, depending on how comfortable you are with him, Chuba, Warren, Pollard, Ramondre. That's a huge tier break for me. So that's more what I don't like is what it sets you up for there, but it's doable. You can survive it. I just wouldn't be.
Do you think that Alvin Kamara is more of a threat to the workload than Chris Rodriguez would be? Like for the ETN and Tootin discussion, because like I can't get there with getting Tootin above ETN.
No, I don't think he is at all. No, and I always assumed he would play. It's not that. Their Saints O line is very good. It is that Kellen Moore does not like throwing to running backs at all, and then it looks like Kamara is going to be their third down back. So the way I look at ETN is you have a guy on like a bottom half of the league at best, maybe bottom 10 projected offense, who's a 2-down back for a team that doesn't like to throw to running back and has one of the highest passing rates in the league. So for me, that just Kellen Moore has one. Okay, so look at that drop, dude. Look at that.
I guess we're seeing the Monty in the fifth round. You brought that back. That's an elite start.
Ooh, I think I could have gotten Swift there instead, maybe, but whatever. We're happy with that. That's pretty great. So go on.
I still prefer Monty to Swift. Maybe in PPR it's more of a question, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I still think Monty is the guy to own in that backfield. I think Woody Marks will be involved. I think Woody Marks is more of a threat to a third down role than a Kamara is. That's the thing. I think Kamara is just a zero at this point in his career.
Yeah.
I think he'll mix in like as a veteran, but I don't think he has a hardcore like lock on the third down role whatsoever. Right? That was supposed to be ETN's like specialty coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't really materialized thus far in the NFL. He's been more of like a traditional runner, but I think that it's going to be mostly ETN with like. If I had to say backfield split, I think ETN gets 60% ish or more of the work, which at this point is like a benchmark of a good workload for running back. So I was getting more in on the pick. I just didn't in the third round. I wasn't doing it, but
I mean, if you told me that ETN would get, I think it's probably even maybe a little more than 60%. 60% is like actually pretty conservative. If you told me that he was getting like a good amount of the passing work and then 65 to 70% of the carries, so we're talking about like a 70 to 75% opportunity share in the backfield, Judkins at the end of that round is a really good price. That's where I'd be happy to take him. If you told me we're getting something like that, yeah, I would. I would probably like if I knew that I would have ETN closer to the 3-4 turn. I'm just a little bit concerned of the workload, what it looks like because Kellen Moore is so over the top pass happy, and then what happens if Kamara gets the third down roll? Then you're sort of getting into this messy split territory, and I'm a little bit concerned with that, maybe more so than most. The other thing is, and you know me, right? You know how I draft with this. You make fun of me for it all the time. I relentlessly and much to my detriment at times chase like the big swings, and I'm willing to take on a whole lot of floor for a whole lot of ceiling. And to me, with like Tootin, I feel like yes, there's a whole lot of floor there, but could you imagine? Like, what if they just give him the ETN roll off the rip, and that's just what it is? I don't know. I'm not saying that's his most likely
I
outcome.
think he'd be a slightly worse Travis Etienne from last year because he's not as good of a player as Travis Etienne.
Yeah, but see, ETN from last year had Tootin eating in the red zone, and like maybe Rodriguez gets the Tootin roll in the red zone, but so Trevion Henderson would be the pick. I've taken Parker Washington so many times on these. I do want to mix it up a little bit.
How about some Brian Thomas? Why don't you get the wide receiver one for Jacksonville in there?
Okay, in honor of Ted, if Henderson goes here, we will take Brian Thomas Jr. I'd prefer the running back just for this type of build, but yeah, we'll do that. Okay, all right, we're taking Brian.
This is
Thomas
one
Jr.
of the
over Parker
best.
Washington.
This is one of the best drafts I've seen you do, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Not to glaze or anything, but
Nice.
yeah, no, that's an elite start.
Cool. Hey, man, look, I'm here for you to be interesting for your entertainment. I'm glad you're having fun. Okay, so Marvin Harrison Jr. would be a great slide if it happens. Jalen Warren, I think, catches 60, 70 passes this year, so I'm intensely interested in Jalen Warren at current cost. We could reach up a little bit and get a Tucker Kraft or even a Sam Laporta. You know what? Honestly, we could do a reach in the 7th. If these three guys are gone, who I sort of have a tier break between everyone else, we could get Sam Laporta and then go get a Jared Goff stack and get Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff would be kind of fun. We have 7 picks to go there. We'll see what the board does, see what the board gives us. I'm totally happy with Chris Godwin at this range too. Any quarterback value slide? Oh, God, there's the quarterback value slide, but we don't have any of these guys stacked. I feel really good about Jared Goff on a roster with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's why I'm less likely to do that. We also have the Jackson Dart.
But what if you had Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels?
Well, yeah, but see,
He's pretty good.
Yeah, but we have the Jackson Dart stack. So I want to go Jackson Dart, Jared Goff at 90, 103. That is an awkward range to try to get that in. We'd have to reach on Goff a little bit. I don't know. Let's just see. If Harrison or Warren are there, it's going to make the decision for me because I'm just going to take one of those dudes. Harrison Jr. would be a wild price to be able to get him here at 90. Okay. Hey, man, I'll take one of these two dudes.
Yeah, man, that's great value there. Especially since you started out with the 3 wide receivers, right? If you could just, Jalen Warren goes there, but Marvin Harrison's such a dub.
Yeah, that's a crazy wide receiver room. And if you're going to go robust wide receiver, like you should make sure you really have a positional advantage there. We can maybe only take one more wide receiver and just build out other stuff here because that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr. Opens up a late Jacoby stack here. Jackson Dart, Jared Goff, if we feel like doing a little reach on those two guys. I don't mind that if we stack our quarterback room with Jackson Dart and Jared Goff. I would feel pretty great about that. We have their 2 wide receiver ones in there. Wouldn't mind another running back value. Our boy, my boy, Jonathan Brooks, my boy, to be clear.
Yeah, thank you for correcting
that. Yeah. Jonathan Brooks.
All that roster needs is some J.K. Dobbins on it. You're cooking.
Oh, you. Well, no, see here, though, I think I'm targeting the quarterbacks here. I think I'd like to, because I feel really good about, I mean, that's like not technically a double hero running back, but it's really close to it. The problem is you're going to get a substantially worse option at running back here if you start digging in this tier. Go a little Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt or Rashad White if they fall. I think I like the idea of double stacking quarterback there and being done at QB. Then we can sort of be done at wide receiver for quite a while. Not done, but done for a minute. It's just a one round reach on Dart or Goff here. We'll see. We'll see who's available. Oh God, Tucker Kraft. That's wild. Yeah, he's at the top of my queue. Interesting that Laporta is consistently going above Kraft on here.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer Kraft. I'm a big Sam Laporta supporter this year, but I'm still taking Tucker Kraft first. Like, that's not even really a debate for me. Let's get some J.K. Dobbins in that queue, Yanni. Come on. Get him in there.
Oh God, there goes Jared Goff. Okay. No man, this would be a Jonathan Brooks spot for me there, pal.
Yeah, it's your running back 3.
Yep.
Who is not going to be starting week 1, and J.K. Dobbins, as long as he stays upright, is going to be the starting running back for the Denver Broncos.
Such is life, my friend. Such is life. I like Brock Purdy more than Dart. So Jared Goff goes really early there. That's what I'm talking about with some of these weird, like, runs that happen.
Hold on, I'm going to reference your running back tiers right now. The very nice tier list that you put together.
Yeah, I'm following my tiers.
It's not opening.
What, the article, the subsite?
There we go. We got to visit the site. Okay. Was I made fun of you for the Brooks placement over Chuba Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, another one of my guys, J.K. Dobbins, under no circumstances. People who subscribe to the TED method of drafting, under no circumstances are you allowed to take Jonathan Brooks over J.K. Dobbins. Don't do it.
Yep. I don't blame you at all if that is not your style. I think in many ways Dobbins has a much more straightforward way to being a league winner, and that is just doesn't get hurt.
Oh yeah, so Dobbins you got under Chuba too. I do prefer Chuba. Well, no. Yeah, I probably prefer Chuba to Dobbins, but it's very close. And then you have R.J. Harvey over Dobbins. That's another one that I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah, to me, it's very clearly J.K. Dobbins in the backfield for Denver. Could be wrong. No, the only way that's wrong is if Dobbins gets hurt, which I'm not going to prognosticate.
That's the only caveat that's even required with Dobbins is basically that he's never taken over 200 carries. He's never finished an NFL season. And that is why I rank him the way that I do. I think I always say it's like a repetitive thing. I say it's not that interesting, it's not that insightful, but it's how I think about it. He's far more likely to have his production in the beginning of the season than the back of the season. And in general, when I'm drafting, especially large field tournaments, but fantasy like redraft too, I'm trying to think of like who can pop this year to put my roster over the top as I'm heading into the playoffs and getting ready to try to, duke it out for championships. And I'm very worried about who is most likely to be productive in the last quarter of the season or the last half of the season. And because J.K. Dobbins almost never finishes the season, he's never taken over 200 carries, that's a very easy fade for me on that basis. Whereas like Harvey had 13 touchdowns last year. He's their third down back in a Sean Payton system. He's a rookie last year who I think could feasibly get better this year. I think it's possible. Whether he does or doesn't, I don't know. So for all those reasons, that's a very easy bet for me to make that, especially as they converge in ADP, if it's just like one or the other, if I think one is way more likely to be productive at the end of the year and they share a backfield, and then that's a correlated bet where like if one of those things succeeds, it's because the other one occurred too. Yeah, I'm going to correlate that bet pretty often. I'm going to comfortably.
In best ball, I can at least understand that strategy. But in redraft, like if you want to make a bet, right? I want players that are going to help me in the playoffs, right? I want players that are going to come on in week 15, 16, or whatever, when it's down to the single elimination tournament
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the year. I would argue that you can draft the guys that are going to be more helpful early and trade into the guys who are profiling to be complete zeros at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the year, like a Jonathan Brooks or a who else were we talking about? Sorry.
Well, I
Um,
mean, there's a bunch of them. Like you could have Kenny Gainwell, you could have Mason,
Yeah,
Tyler Mason.
exactly. Those kind of guys where we're making bets. Like I get it for unmanaged rosters, but for managed rosters, right? Like I'm sure there's going to be one Jonathan Brooks bull out there who drafts him way too high. You draft J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins comes out on fire because
Mm-hmm.
he's clearly the better pick between the two. But then if you wanted to say, well, I don't know how much longer J.K. Dobbins is going to stay on his 2 feet, right? I want to buy Jonathan Brooks because I believe in that.
Oh
Like
my God,
that's like total trade bait.
give
I'd
me
almost rather trade into it.
give me Harold Fannin Jr. this late would be such a steal. There's no way, right? Like that's just not how life works, where it's wonderful and magical at times. There's no way. Oh my
Oh,
God.
does that guy have a tight end yet?
I don't know. I didn't check. 6 seconds left. We will find out. Come on.
He
Oh,
auto drafts.
oh no. Oh my God. Okay. Cool. Cool. 20 pick or 15 pick past ADP Harold Fannin. Uncorrelated, but who gives a shit? That's a great pull for me. Would still like a second QB here. I'm less worried about tight end now. What other stacks do we have? Not really any stacks we can chase. We can chase a late Jacoby Brissett. Um,
You got the three juniors in a row: Harold Fannin Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison
yeah.
Jr.
Yeah. I don't mind going a little CJ Stroud at 138 because he'll throw a little bit to Montgomery, and it's also just you're sort of like getting a big market share of that offense's scoring potential, which is interesting. Jordan Mason just went. Okay. Romeo Doubs. This will be a quarterback here if this thing falls correctly to me. If I ended up with like Dobbs or Casey Concepcion, I would just close the room right there. That would be enough for me to call it. Tyrone Tracy Jr. I'd be very happy with. Okay, down to Jordan Love. Probably not going to get one of these premium guys here. I actually don't mind Malik Willis, but we'll wait for CJ Stroud later on. But we'll take Love certainly if he falls here. Yeah, so CJ Stroud as we can do 138 for CJ.
Let the record show I'm also a Jordan Love guy this year.
Yep.
Want to be on that early.
Yep, I think that's a good one to be.
Not as like a real life quarterback. I don't think he's very good as a real life quarterback, but for fantasy, I am interested.
Yep. I'm excited about like them finally condensing the offense. Okay, I'd be pretty stoked to get Love here. Okay, there he goes. All right, that is just how life works. Yep. So 139. Tyrone Tracy Jr. fits a lot better for this build, honestly, than a Romeo Doubs here. So we're gonna go Tyrone Tracy Jr. Pull him up just a little bit. I like
the junior surname build too.
Yeah.
Adding a fourth junior to the lineup.
Yeah, and also I didn't even think about stack with Jackson Dart, technically, right? So a little stack there. Now I do like Malik Willis more than CJ Stroud, but CJ Stroud we have correlation. Sam Darnold is one of two quarterbacks the last few years with 4,000 passing yards. Or Sam Darnold, yeah. We could go with a Sam Darnold, AJ Barner stack late, and Sam Darnold has a lot of stacking options late. I don't know what. I assume for you, Willis would be the guy who's off your board here. You're just not messing around with that.
I don't like the Malik Willis proposition, but when you're uncorrelated, right? All three of those guys, you don't have any correlation there. I think Malik Willis is the best bet to just have uncorrelated because most of his points, if he gets them, are going to be from running.
Yep. Getting close to like a 90% chance you finish as a quarterback one if you run for 100 yards or if you rush 100 attempts since 2000. Pretty good odds there. More so for best ball. I'm seeing like dudes like Sal Vetri are telling you can roll in with him as your quarterback one in redraft. I don't know if I would want to do that. I think that's
feels very Justin Fieldsy to me.
Yeah, man. Like in that.
If you're just going single Malik Willis, it feels very last year Justin Fieldsy.
Yeah.
Which I don't like that so much.
Well, both of these guys open up a good tight end stack for us late. Jackson Dart has so much rushing upside. Do I want the floor of Darnold or the ceiling of Willis? It's really hard. We'll. I have a lot of Sam Darnold, so we'll go with Malik Willis there. It's close for me. It's close. Um, and then, yeah, okay. So C.J. Stroud had actually gone there already, so it was worded. Yeah, that's fine. I think the market will probably be higher on Willis, but I really like Barner, and I really like the random receiver dart throws you can take with. Oh, whoops! I took Willis. Okay, my bad. Said Darnold, I took Willis. I guess I misclicked. Okay, or did I say Willis and take Darnold? Whatever, dude. We're rolling with Malik Willis now.
I thought you were taking Willis the entire time.
Okay, whatever. I don't know. I've been drafting for hours. I'm delirious. We're taking. We're gonna shoot for Greg Dulcich later in the draft.
How much money do you think you're in total in best ball this year?
I don't know. Nowhere close to what, like, I don't know, probably like $600. Nowhere close to what actual dudes that are like, you know, like there are guys on here that I watch streamers that are like $15,000 in maxing every tournament. I'm nowhere close to anything like that. Why do you ask?
Because I have to have you ask me all the time, how many packs in are you?
How many packs
have you ripped?
Yeah, but you think that's it's not a judgmental thing. That's just because I think it's cool to do degenerate stuff. Like I completely support people who spend tens of thousands of dollars on best ball, and I completely support ripping thousands of dollars of trading card packs. Like that is a if you're gonna dopamine chase, you should do it in a very fun way. Like I
did hit 5 pitch black booster bundles today on Amazon for $33 a piece.
Yeah.
Very excited to. So I was like $190 into the venture, and at this point, what I'm chasing the Darkrai, Mega Darkrai special illustration there is about a $250 card.
Yep.
So if I had just tacked on an extra $60 to the venture, I could have just had the card that I want, but it just isn't the same as pulling it yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, like, for me, right, I have a very established and stable. Okay, so Chikakonkwo with 50 catches a year and full PPR is pretty appealing, 20 picks past ADP year. You know, like, for me with doing this, to me, it's not actually the money, because, again, I don't really care about spending the money. Like, we've done so well this year with investing in shiny cardboard. Like, I think in the last year, I'm up like $38,000 on my Pokemon portfolio. So like this is just spending basically money that was made from holding sealed boxes of stuff. Like I don't really care about spending 600 or a grand or whatever I'm gonna end up with by the end of the season. It's more though for me that like if this had gone into redraft, I would have about a 24% chance of 10 timesing my money. Because that's my track record in redraft fantasy is I have about a 24% win rate, and then you make 8 to 10 times your buy-in. So like it was probably stupid on those grounds. Like I probably should have just invested way more into redraft and tried to, if I was looking for return on investment, but that's not what I'm looking. I love that these give us a chance to do content. I love that these give us a chance to like, dude, if you hit one of these things, you're going to get on some big podcasts. You're going to be able to write articles that people want to read. Like you're kind of chasing exposure, right? It's a little bit of a vanity thing. It's certainly more degenerate because you're just taking a bigger gamble. The floor is zero. So that's more like what makes me feel stupid personally is doing stuff like this. Like it is because I think the opportunity cost is pretty high for a redraft, but I don't regret it one bit. I have such a blast drafting these teams.
And I would expect that redraft championship percentage to go down when Parker Washington is one of your guys this year.
It will. It without a doubt will. Or if it doesn't, I'll tell you what, it's either going to go down, or if it doesn't, I'm going to start advertising that I'm the greatest redraft player in history and people should join my Substack. But I think it's more likely it starts declining pretty precipitously here. Why is Malik Washington in the 160s here? I don't want to grab him that high to stack him. I do want another solid running back. We'll go Tank Bigsby over Jonah Coleman. I've been jamming, or do I want Simpson for more volume? I think Tank Bigsby's too good to leave on the board here as my running back 5. What do you think?
Tank Bigsby's range of outcomes is much more high than Jonah Coleman's.
Well, yeah, I meant than Samson, because Samson's going to catch a lot of passes. There's sort of some floor there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Samson has, like, the PPR floor, I guess. But if you're taking, like, a hack for the fences, right? If Jonah Coleman works out, he's probably still splitting with Harvey to some extent.
Yep.
If Bigsby works out, he might just be the only guy getting work there.
Yep, absolutely.
Will Shipley is a big fat zero.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think Tank Bigsby's a pretty good player too. Like I don't think he's just like a jag. Ironically, coming from the Jags, I don't think he's like a nobody in the backfield. I think he's a pretty good football player.
I think what he's put on tape is better than what Bayshall Tutin's put on tape.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I actually wondered about that. Do you think the Jags regret letting Bayshaw walk?
I mean, they had so much depth. Maybe if you knew that ETN was walking, you could have kept Bigsby and Tootin. I guess. Um, but I don't know. They kind of there's some overlap there. I think they called their shot with Tootin.
But yeah, dude, definitely a little degenerate to throw even like 500 to 1,000 into best ball is probably a little stupid, but I don't know. Do you remember like when we were partying in Chico? It was pretty regular to, without getting into the specifics of what the money was being spent on. It was pretty regular to blow like 100, 200, $400 on a good weekend of like doing stuff, and that like you never got any return on that. That was just up in the air.
I'm trying to think because I wasn't making much money back then, so
No.
my weekends now are much more expensive. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't got to pay for Pampers or nothing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I will just spend money on aggressively stupid things.
Yeah, dude. I don't know,
But
man.
it's different stupid things than it used to be.
Yep. Okay. So Brissett or Mendoza would be pretty cool at the turn here. Mendoza's just sort of like volume to maybe spike at the end of the year. Brissett is because I have the stack with Marvin Harrison Jr. Don't know if Brissett starts all year, but we'll take that swing. I kind of hate to leave like stacks on the board in Washington because Washington's well past ADP here. But when am I going to pick again? Like 186. Ooh. So do I want to take the risk that Geno Smith comes back around to me at 186? But if not, I'm going two quarterback with Malik Willis.
I think Fernando Mendoza is significantly better
Well,
than Brissett or Smith could be.
well,
Or it's more high upside.
so the problem with that though is I have the Harrison Jr. stack. I want the Brissett Harrison Jr. stack. All right, we're just gonna do it. I do want though Malik Washington would be kind of cool. I don't really need another receiver, honestly. I'm pretty happy with those five, but I do want to try to add like one more just in case. Would ideally like to add a tight end here. Let's see who comes around. Yeah, dude, but I like I don't know. Again, view it like I'm paying to learn best ball, but it's certainly Greg Dulcich and Malik Washington. Dude took both my stacks. It certainly does make me like think. The only thing that I regret is maybe I should have played just more redraft, but I also it's a lot to try to organize an extra. Every redraft league I open is an extra 12 managers. So like if I played another 500 in redraft, I would need to recruit another 60 managers. And I don't have the time to do that with the move, with the job applications, with graduating. It's just too much stacking up at once this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, what was it? 2 years ago, you wouldn't even play redraft. I had to pull you in and say, "Do you want to watch
No,
me do an
best
underdog
ball,
draft?"
best ball.
Even,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I did not. Yeah. We're learning
it was
best
like
ball, man.
introducing a caveman to fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of bad habits I feel like I've influenced on Yanni, I feel slightly bad about it, but we like to have fun here.
Without getting into specifics, please, because some of those are a little bit sensitive for YouTube. But yes, certainly.
Pokemon cards.
Oh, those are fine. That's fine.
Best ball drafts.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll cut it off.
Redraft
right
too.
Yeah, we'll cut it off right there, though. As far as any other activities that may or may not have been introduced. Oh, there goes Barner, man. One of my favorite dudes at Price. Again, full PPR, though. I'm pretty big on Otten. I don't know if people realize, like, Otten was way up there last year for targets from Baker Mayfield, and Mike Evans vacated, a ton of them. Although, with
the issue is he's such a zero if all the wide receivers are out there. Like, he is strictly a handcuff pass catcher. So he will goose egg for a ton of weeks. But in best ball, I don't think it matters so much because spike weeks are fine.
Yeah, don't you kind of feel like, though, like, isn't Mike Evans being gone from there sort of like by default they're missing a wide receiver this year is sort of how I think about it?
If
Like,
you actually believe in Ted Hurst or you think like it feels like the tight end doesn't really get looked at when they have the full bevy of wide receiver options there. So like Cade Otton, like I said, he's not anyone I will even consider drafting in redraft, but I'll probably put in like a $5 fab waiver claim in week 6.
Yeah, I think
When
he's
one of those guys inevitably goes down.
I think he's a good emergency draft guy. Honestly, if they keep Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's like something I'm interested in redraft for. I think I'm just gonna let other people manage that.
In my mock draft today, I had a redraft Terrence Ferguson. This is actually something I think is a pretty interesting talking point. I don't know if it's going to be representative at all, but because there's so many managers that are taking two quarterbacks and two tight ends, at least in the Yahoo mock drafts, if you're someone who wants to wait on tight end, there's a good in like I don't know, you're looking at a guy like Mark Andrews, or Brenton Strange, right? And you're kind of planning it out, and you're saying, oh, well, I could probably get Brenton Strange around 12 or 13, right? Be careful because if everyone's double tapping tight end and quarterback, you might just miss out on it entirely, which I'm fine with doing technically. But yeah, no, seeing Terrence Ferguson as my starter in a redraft mock is kind of spooky. So it has me like kind of thinking twice about it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want him as my starter. I do think though, like let's say you're picking in this range and you get a Juwan Johnson, a Brenton Strange, a Chigakonkwo, a Greg Dulcich, a Kenyon Sadiq, and then you do Terrence Ferguson as like a maybe he works out guy. To me, I do think like now I'm sort of interested in, we always talk about like that 13th pick that you add to your roster if you're doing a 15-round draft. It's sort of a floating spot. Do you go second quarterback? Do you go second tight end? Do you go an extra wide receiver, an extra running back, an extra handcuff, whatever? Um, I now Terrence Ferguson is on my radar just to hold for a week or two because you're going to probably drop that last roster spot anyway. That's usually what happens after the first week or two. Like, I don't think this is the most likely outcome, but if he comes out and they just like give him the Tyler Higbee role from a few years ago, like if he just gets 7 targets a game, 8 targets a game, uh, I think Terrence Ferguson will be a league winner this year. So, like, I'm not saying I think that's going to happen. I'm saying for your last pick of your roster spot, you should be taking out lottery tickets like that, where if the first week breaks the right way, you all of a sudden have a league winner on your hands. Um, and I think
I mean, we were saying that about Keon Coleman last year. So
sure,
you gotta get more than 1 week. But yes,
but
I
yeah,
agree with the premise with those home run swings in the
yeah.
late rounds.
What I did with Keon Coleman that year, or when he did that, is I immediately took him. I paired him with like DJ Moore or Jerry Judy, and I tiered up in wide receiver. So it's like even if it's not some like season defining thing that they break out as, it can still give you real utility as a manager to be holding those types of lottery tickets when something like that happens. Turn around and sell them if you don't think it's sticky. If you don't think it's sticky, get rid of them.
And always send out those 2-for-1 trades, boys.
Always.
If you can do that and redraft. I never accept those trades for the most part because when you're the person accepting them, the extra player, you have to usually cut a player too, right? So it's not really 2-for-1, but people seem to be interested in that when you send them out. So by all means.
I don't. I'll be totally. So it's actually funny. I'm writing another. I have like a bunch. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna start getting out like articles every few days here because I have a bunch of them that I've rough drafted. I'm writing one on the general. Ooh, there goes Darnell Mooney. Would have loved that late with with Dart. It's a bummer. I'm putting out like just a list of just general advice, how you should manage this, how you should manage that, whatever. One of the things is don't ever make fun of your league mates when you win a trade from them because like they'll never trade with you again. If you go in the chat and you trash them for how lopsided the trade was, or you keep bragging about a player you got off them, right? They're just not gonna do business with you anymore. It's actually a pretty important piece of advice that I see people like violate all the time. They'll go and start like laughing about taking one off someone. But I will say in general, and I send out a lot of these, so if anyone ever ends up seeing this from the league, they're gonna judge me for saying it. But I think you're crazy if you accept 2-for-1s in general. I don't think I'm always interested in the best player in the deal. You shouldn't accept 2-for-1 draft trades unless your roster is at the point. Ooh, there goes Malik Washington. I wanted him as the last running back we felt good about. We haven't really been taking him a lot. Yeah, we'll take Katron Allen as our RB6. God, so many spaces. What do we get? 9, 15, 18. Two more picks. But yeah, like, so the only circumstances where I will take a 2-for-1 is if I have a player go down with injury and I cannot fill my flex with someone who I think's adequate. If you're really at the point where you're flexing someone that is just like should not be starting in on NFL rosters, then sure, I would take a 2-for-1. But that is like an emergency. Your season is looking at being in the toilet, and you have to make a move. Other than that, don't ever accept a 2-for-1 just to add a little depth to your fantasy roster. That's a crazy decision.
I've only accepted one trade ever where I was receiving multiple players back in the trade, and that was with our friend Yanni. It's the only trade we've ever done, and I kind of bent him over a barrel on that one. It was
Leonard Fournette.
Russell Wilson. Yeah, it was Russell Wilson in his last year with the Seahawks in an injured Nick Chubb for Kareem Hunt, I think, in his first or second year with the Browns. Leonard Fournette, and then some Jag wide receiver. It didn't really matter. But yeah, I tricked Yanni with the multiple quarterback strategy.
You did. You did.
I think I had like Russ and like Burrow or something, right? I think I just pivoted to Burrow.
Yeah, I think I remember. I forget what happened, but I think my quarterback either got injured. I wasn't looking great. Like something happened where I was really panicking, and yeah, you certainly did. You do. I will.
No. No. It's because you were irrationally high on Russell Wilson. It's back when I told you every single year Russell Wilson stinks, and you were like, you're just coping. And then like he went to the Broncos and he actually did suck, and you're like, were you right this entire time?
I will say that that is definitely a Ted spec. I've seen you do that more than anyone in any other league. The turn and burn on the second quarterback. You make very good use of that spot. We'll see. I put in my quarterback strategy article, never take a second quarterback in redraft unless it's, obviously super flex or 2QB. I still tend to manage my rosters that way. I will say that's one that I got a good amount of pushback on, and it does seem like most people tend to take too. Maybe I'm a little bit too aggressive with that. I generally don't ever take a second quarterback in managed leagues, but you definitely make the most use of it of anyone I've ever seen doing so.
I mean, last year in our league, in League 7 actually is the one. I think I went back-to-back quarterbacks. I went Baker Mayfield round 9, and then I saw Drake May there at 10. Even though like I had other positional needs, I was like, this is too late for Drake May, because he was like one of my guys I was weirdly in on last year. And that worked out great. So like if I had just gone with Baker Mayfield, right, and I wasn't taking a second quarterback, I didn't even trade either of those guys, but my team would have just been dead when Baker just completely fell off a cliff. I was able to pivot into Drake May, and it was just like totally fine. And then I had an offer on the table. It was like before the writing was on the wall that Baker stunk for the rest of the year, right? I think I got offered Quinshon Judkins for Baker, and I wouldn't take it. I said no to that.
Yep.
Probably a mistake on my part not pulling the trigger there, but I wanted to believe in Baker. I had Ibuka, so it was like that stack was valuable to me.
Okay.
Little James Conner, man, come on.
Well, I already have 6 running
James
backs.
Conner.
I don't usually go above 6 running backs here. A little bit shaky of a 6 running backs. The problem is with these receivers, like I don't think any other receiver I take is going to see any time, and I just followed it up with 2 good values in Ridley and Kirk. I don't really know. That's what I was kind of looking around. I keep looking around at other positions, wondering like maybe Jordan James. James Conner actually is sort of like maybe he gets traded. Oh, he already went. He went. Okay, I was gonna swing around on a James Conner for you.
Yeah, man, 20th round running back is pretty tough.
Oh, I mean, it's 20th round anything. It's not going to be good. Now, if Keenan Allen goes here, I'm going to be kind of sad. You know what? No, if Keenan Allen goes here, we're going... No, actually, I like Elijah Surratt. Still can't pull the trigger on Brandon Ayuk despite my...
80% he plays this year, you'd be dumb not to.
All right. But Keenan Allen, I think, actually signed somewhere. Okay, that was a marathon of a draft, but it's well worth it to do it. We are trying to get our name out there. We are trying to make content that is entertaining and fun to watch. Thank you to anyone who stopped by. Thank you to anyone who checked it out. Thank you to all you guys that have been paying in our free Tendies leagues and joining the Discord and reading the articles. That is so cool. We are going to continue to try to build this offseason and in the rest of the redraft season and lead up to a good productive season. So thank you to everyone. Thank you guys for checking us out. Again, we're going to keep coming with regular stuff. We're probably going to have some mocks at some point when Yahoo stops messing around. Link to the Discord in the comments, link to the articles in the comments, link to the league invite in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you are so inclined. Ted, any closing statements? You liked our first draft. This one was okay. Got a little weird toward the end.
I thought that was significant. I thought that was your best draft of the day.
Did you? You like this one?
All
right.
Yeah, but if you do like and subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the bell. Because
Yeah.
if you do hit the bell, then you will get a notification whenever we go live.
Yeah.
There's a little known piece of YouTube stuff that not everyone knows.
It's
But yeah, that bell is important.
yeah, a little kept YouTube secret. Look, we want to be here. Like, ideally, if enough people start stopping in on these and we can sit there and answer personalized roster questions, judge drafts, come with draft position, all that stuff, I would love to talk about it. We win outlier rates of championships around here. We are trying to pass that on to you guys. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. And we'll be back